What if everything you thought you knew about building muscle after 60 was only half the story? What if the food you've been told is the gold standard for protein, the one that's been on every fitness list for decades, is actually being outperformed by something sitting quietly on a grocery store shelf, something that costs a fraction of the price, something most seniors walk right past without giving it a second thought? I know that sounds like a bold claim, but by the time we get to the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why this food works, exactly how to use it, and why your body after 60 actually responds to it better than eggs in some very important ways. So don't touch that screen, stay right here, because this one could genuinely change how you eat, how you feel, and how strong you become in the months ahead. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Milani Sanders, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. This is your home for real, practical, science-backed health and fitness information specifically for seniors. We don't do fluff here. We don't do one-size-fits-all advice that was designed for 25-year-olds in a gym. Everything we talk about is tailored to the bodies, the needs, and the incredible potential of people over 60. And today, we are diving deep into one of the most exciting topics I've covered in a long time, because this is about muscle building it, keeping it, and doing it in a way that is affordable, sustainable, and genuinely effective for your age group specifically. So let's get into it. The food I'm talking about today is canned sardines. Now, before you scroll away or roll your eyes, I need you to give me just 2 more minutes, because I promise you that what I'm about to explain is going to reframe the way you see this humble little fish entirely. Sardines are not your grandmother's last resort. They are quite literally one of the most nutrient-dense, muscle-building, inflammation-fighting, bone-strengthening foods on the planet. And the research on why they are particularly powerful for adults over 60 is genuinely remarkable. Let's start with the protein conversation, because that's what we came here to talk about. A single can of sardines, we're talking a standard 75-ounce can that you can pick up at almost any grocery store for anywhere between $1 and $2, contains roughly 23 grams of complete protein. Complete protein means it contains all 9 essential amino acids, the ones your body cannot produce on its own and must get from food. Now, 2 large eggs contain about 12 to 13 grams of protein. So right away, sardines are delivering nearly double the protein per serving. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is the part that most people don't know. After the age of 60, your body undergoes a shift in how it processes protein. There's a phenomenon that researchers call anabolic resistance. And it means that older muscles require a higher dose of protein, specifically a higher dose of certain amino acids, to trigger the same muscle-building response that a younger person would get from a smaller amount. This is one of the main reasons why so many seniors feel like they're exercising consistently, eating reasonably well, and still losing muscle. It's not a failure of effort. It's a biological reality of aging that requires a strategic nutritional response. And sardines, because of the specific amino acid profile they carry and the high bioavailability of their protein, are particularly well equipped to meet that challenge. The amino acid you really want to pay attention to here is leucine. Leucine is the master trigger of what's called muscle protein synthesis, which is the technical term for the process by which your body actually builds new muscle tissue. Think of leucine as the key that turns the ignition. Without enough leucine in a meal, the muscle-building process simply doesn't get fully switched on, no matter how much you exercise. Sardines are an excellent source of leucine, and when you combine that with the fact that fish protein and sardine protein specifically has been shown in research to be digested and absorbed at a rate that's highly efficient for older adults, you start to understand why this food is so exceptionally suited for seniors who are trying to build or maintain muscle mass. Now, let me put the cost comparison in perspective for a moment, because this is something that matters enormously to a lot of people on fixed incomes. A dozen eggs at an average grocery store right now costs anywhere from $3 to $5, depending on where you live. That gives you roughly 72 to 78 grams of protein spread across 12 eggs. A can of sardines costing about $1.50 gives you 23 grams of complete, highly bioavailable protein in a single serving. If you were to buy enough canned sardines to get the same total protein as a dozen eggs, you'd spend less money and get a dramatically more nutrient-rich package alongside that protein. Because sardines don't just bring protein to the table. They bring an entire orchestra of nutrients that specifically support muscle growth, recovery, and the overall health of an aging body. Let me walk you through some of those because this is where sardines really start to pull away from the competition. The first is omega-3 fatty acids. A single can of sardines provides roughly 1,300 to 2,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA, the two active forms of omega-3 that your body can use directly. Now you might be thinking, what do omega-3s have to do with building muscle? The answer is a lot more than most people realize. Research published in major clinical journals has shown that omega-3 supplementation in older adults directly enhances muscle protein synthesis. It makes your muscles more sensitive to the anabolic signal of leucine, essentially turning down the anabolic resistance I mentioned earlier. In practical terms, that means the protein in your meal does more work when omega-3s are present. You're not just getting a bonus fat, you're getting a compound that actively amplifies your body's muscle-building response. Eggs contain some omega-3s, particularly if they're the enriched variety, but the amount is modest compared to what sardines deliver naturally. The second standout nutrient is vitamin D3. This is one of the most critically deficient nutrients in the senior population, and the consequences of that deficiency for muscle health are severe and often underappreciated. Vitamin D receptors are present in muscle tissue throughout your body. When those receptors are adequately stimulated by vitamin D, your muscle fibers, particularly the fast twitch fibers that are most responsible for strength and power, function optimally. When vitamin D is low, muscle weakness, fatigue, and increased fall risk follow. Multiple studies have linked vitamin D deficiency in older adults to accelerated muscle loss, decreased physical performance, and even cognitive decline. Sardines are one of the very few whole foods that contain a meaningful amount of natural vitamin D3. One can provide 12% or more of your daily recommended intake, and when you're eating them regularly alongside appropriate sun exposure, the cumulative effect on muscle function can be significant. Third is calcium, and here's the connection to muscle that often surprises people. Most of us associate calcium with bone health, and yes, it's absolutely critical there too, but calcium also plays a direct role in muscle contraction. Every single time a muscle fiber contracts, it requires a calcium signal. If calcium availability in your cells is compromised, your muscles literally cannot fire as efficiently. Sardines, eaten with their small, soft, edible bones, and I know, bear with me on that, are one of the richest whole food sources of calcium available anywhere. A single can of sardines with bones can provide 350 milligrams of calcium or more, which is roughly 27% of the daily recommended intake for an adult over 60. Compare that to eggs, which contain almost no calcium at all, and you can see how sardines are delivering value on a completely different level. Fourth is vitamin B12, which is absolutely essential for nerve function, red blood cell production, and energy metabolism. Seniors are disproportionately affected by B12 deficiency because the ability to absorb B12 from food diminishes with age as stomach acid levels decline. Low B12 leads to fatigue, weakness, poor coordination, and can contribute to muscle loss indirectly by impairing the energy systems that power physical activity and recovery. One can of sardines provides well over 100% of the daily recommended intake of B12. That alone makes it a powerful addition to any senior's diet. And fifth one that ties everything together is the anti-inflammatory effect of sardines as a whole food package. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the defining biological features of aging, and it's a major contributor to something called sarcopenia, which is the age-related loss of muscle mass and function that affects the majority of adults over 65. Inflammation disrupts muscle protein synthesis, accelerates muscle protein breakdown, and interferes with recovery from exercise. The combination of omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, and the antioxidants naturally present in sardines creates a genuinely powerful anti-inflammatory effect that works at the cellular level to protect your muscle tissue and create an internal environment where growth and repair can actually happen. No other cheap, readily available food delivers this complete anti-inflammatory package the way sardines do. Now, I want to be real with you for a moment, Milani Sanders style, because I know some of you are sitting there thinking, okay, I believe the science, but I do not think I can eat sardines. And I hear you. The smell, the texture, the idea of it, I get it. But I want to challenge you to stay open because there are ways to eat sardines that are genuinely delicious. And I'm going to share some of them with you in just a moment. But first, I want to address one more piece of the muscle building puzzle because understanding the science is only useful if you know how to apply it practically. If you're over 60 and you want to build muscle, and you absolutely can, by the way, research consistently shows that seniors respond robustly to resistance training and that meaningful muscle gains are possible well into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. Then the two pillars you need to have firmly in place are resistance exercise and adequate protein intake, timed and structured correctly. On the protein side, most research on muscle building in older adults points to a target of somewhere between 1, 2, and 1, 6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, with an emphasis on spreading that protein across meals rather than concentrating it all in one sitting. This is because older muscles have a limit to how much protein they can effectively use at one time to trigger muscle synthesis. Aiming for roughly 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein per meal 3 times a day is a framework that research consistently supports for seniors. 1 can of sardines at 23 grams of protein, paired with a small serving of Greek yogurt or a cup of lentils, or even 1 or 2 eggs alongside it, gets you to that 30 to 40 gram threshold beautifully at a cost that is genuinely accessible for almost everyone. And because of the omega-3 content enhancing your anabolic sensitivity, the leucine profile triggering muscle protein synthesis, and the vitamin D supporting muscle fiber function, you're getting more out of that protein than you would from almost any other comparable food combination at the same price point. Now let's talk about the practical side, because I promised you we'd get here. How do you actually eat sardines in a way that doesn't make you want to close the kitchen entirely? The first thing I'll tell you is to choose the right product. Look for sardines packed in olive oil or water rather than soybean oil. Sardines in olive oil tend to have a softer, milder flavor and a pleasant richness that makes them much more palatable than the versions packed in other oils. Wild-caught sardines are preferable if you can find them, but honestly, almost all commercially available sardines are wild-caught by nature, since sardines aren't typically farmed. One of the most popular ways to eat sardines, and this one genuinely converts skeptics, is to mash them up with a fork, mix in a little Dijon mustard, some lemon juice, a small amount of olive oil or light mayo, some finely diced celery and red onion, salt and pepper, and spread the whole thing on a slice of whole grain toast or stuff it into half an avocado. The flavor is savory and rich and complex, and when it's prepared this way, many people describe it as tasting closer to a gourmet tuna spread than anything they imagined when they heard the word sardines. You can also stir sardines into pasta with garlic, olive oil, cherry tomatoes, and capers for a Mediterranean-style meal that's genuinely restaurant quality and takes about 15 minutes to make. Or flake them into a warm grain bowl alongside roasted vegetables and a tahini drizzle. Or mix them into a hearty vegetable soup in the last few minutes of cooking, where they'll melt into the broth and add a deep, savory flavor without being identifiable as fish at all. The point is that sardines are more versatile than their reputation suggests, and once you find 1 or 2 preparations that work for your palate, incorporating them regularly becomes very natural. I suggest starting with 2 to 3 servings per week and seeing how your body responds. For many people, within 4 to 6 weeks of consistent sardine consumption alongside a regular resistance exercise routine, the changes in energy, strength, and body composition become noticeable enough to be genuinely motivating. Speaking of resistance exercise, let me spend a moment on this because I want to make sure the full picture is clear. Protein alone, no matter how well chosen, cannot build muscle without the stimulus of resistance training. Your muscles need to be challenged, stressed, and then given the nutrients and rest they need to rebuild stronger. For seniors, the good news is that it doesn't take an intense gym program to provide that stimulus. Research shows that even 2 to 3 sessions per week of moderate resistance exercise, bodyweight squats, resistance band work, light dumbbell exercises, chair-supported movements is sufficient to trigger meaningful muscle protein synthesis when paired with adequate protein intake. The key variables are consistency and progressive overload, meaning you gradually increase the challenge over time, even if the increments are small. If you're not currently doing any resistance training, I want to encourage you to start somewhere, anywhere. Even simple exercises done seated in a chair, even 5 minutes a day to begin, provide a signal to your muscles that they are needed and should be maintained and strengthened. Combine that with the nutritional strategy we've talked about today, and you are creating genuine conditions for your body to grow stronger, even at 60, 70, or beyond. I also want to briefly touch on hydration because it's one of the most overlooked factors in muscle recovery and performance for seniors specifically. As we age, our thirst sensation becomes less reliable. Many seniors are mildly dehydrated much of the time without realizing it. And even mild dehydration impairs muscle function, reduces strength output during exercise, and slows recovery. If you're incorporating more protein into your diet, and especially if you're increasing your physical activity, adequate water intake becomes even more important. Aim for at least 6 to 8 cups of water daily and more on days when you've been active. One more thing I want to mention before we bring this all together, and it relates to something I hear from seniors in this community all the time: the feeling that it's too late, the feeling that the window for building muscle or improving fitness has closed. I want to address this directly and clearly: it has not. The science on this is unambiguous. A landmark study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association followed adults in their late 80s and early 90s who undertook a supervised resistance training program. After just 8 weeks, participants showed significant increases in muscle strength and muscle mass. Their walking speed improved, their ability to perform daily activities improved, their quality of life improved. If that is possible at 88 or 90, then whatever age you are right now, the door is open. Your muscles are waiting for the right signal. Your biology still responds. You still have the capacity to become stronger, more capable, and more vital than you feel today. And it starts with something as simple as a can of sardines on your grocery list, $1.50. 23 grams of complete protein, omega-3s that amplify your muscle-building response, vitamin D that strengthens your muscle fibers, calcium for muscle contraction and bone strength, B12 for energy and nerve function, and a profound anti-inflammatory effect that creates the cellular environment where real repair and growth can happen. All in one little can that's been overlooked and underestimated for far too long. So here's your action plan. This week, pick up 3 or 4 cans of sardines, preferably in olive oil, wild caught if available. Try one of the preparations I described. Add it to your lunch 2 or 3 days this week alongside a resistance training session, even if that session is just 15 minutes of bodyweight movement. Drink your water, be consistent, and come back here and tell me how it goes, because I genuinely want to know. If this video gave you something useful today, something you didn't know before, something that shifts how you're thinking about your nutrition and your health, please give it a thumbs up. It takes 2 seconds. And it means the world to this channel because it helps YouTube put this information in front of more seniors who need it. Leave me a comment below with your thoughts, your questions, or your sardine experiences, good and bad. I want to hear all of it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, because we put out new content every day that is specifically designed to help you live stronger, feel better, and age on your own terms. I'm Milani Sanders, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. You absolutely deserve to feel amazing.